So people make decisions out of pain sometimes quickly. They make them spontaneously because they're just in the mood. Someone encourages them to make a decision. They hop right in. Others can really delay and overthink. I can be all of those. I can overthink, and I find that I make good decisions spontaneously sometimes. I make bad decisions spontaneously. When I overthink and I make no decision, then there's some real negative consequences. It's actually better for me to decide. Recently, I've had some decisions to make, and there can be small things. Just a moment ago, I was making a decision on whether to do something after work or not, like specifically that involved another person. Decide to travel, to go see daughter, my parents, whatever. I mean, but it torments me at times because I am cluttered. And there's things we can do to actually get some clarity to make good decisions. And that's our topic today, is how do we make good decisions? So strategic decision-making for leaders. 3 tips, some nuggets that you can actually apply right away. And there's different magnitude of decisions. Some are really important, it seems, up front. Some not nearly as important, like whether I'm going to play golf after work or not in the bad weather and freeze or not, So there's decisions that we can make that we don't feel like are going to have a huge consequence, but they actually do. There's a lot of pressure, and that pressure can put us in situations where we feel like we have to make the perfect decision, but that's not actually the way to go. So you're going to learn a lot about that today. So welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. 3 tips, strategic decision-making for business leaders and really leaders in life. So you're going to gain some tools to step back from your life and say, I can do this. I can get the clarity so I can actually make that next decision, the big thing, so you can move forward. So I'm Adam Gragg. I'm a legacy coach and I'm a family therapist, founder of Decide Your Legacy. We help businesses and leaders live courageously. And FYI, everybody's a leader. Kelsey's a leader, Sherman's a leader, Troy's a leader, Steve's a leader, Billy Bob's a leader. Billy Bob's not in here right now, but he's a leader too. Everybody is a leader because you are a neighbor, you're a family member, you're a brother, you're a sister, you're somebody that's a part of a community in your life, and I want you to think about it that way as you approach life. So we have 2 guests today. One of them is Kelsey Torkelson, and she's an assistant legacy coach at Decide Your Legacy, brand relations director. She's going to share some great insight. And we have Sherman Orr, who is a legacy coach at Decide Your Legacy, and he's the head of our operations here as well. And their insight's going to be a lot better than mine. I really have a feeling, because we have a woman's perspective that has her own perspective. We have somebody that's been in a different profession. They've both been in different professions in their careers. We have some good insight here. So, and I will tell you that that as you look around you, it's not all easy. You can look at people that looks like, man, they just kind of fly through life. It's easy for me to think. I mean, these people that run businesses and run churches and organizations, like they're just kind of making, it's just flowing for them. But that's really not the case. I mean, I recently remember when President Trump had to make the decision, and did make the decision. It was his decision to bomb Iran, their nuclear, and to immobilize, at least for a period of time, their nuclear capabilities. Only he could make that decision. I mean, he made it and had to make it with unintended consequences. So when you make a decision, I mean, it could go bad.
Right. Nobody knows how it is going to go. You just have to make your decision after you get your little tips here. But same kind of thing happens all the time for me, because now I have a house that I'm in charge of, and so I have little things I have to think about, like fixing up the house. How much do I want to invest in it? And analysis paralysis has been kind of going on, because the carpet that they put in is cheap carpet. It's pretty well worn already after 6 months. And so I've got some LVP, and I'm like, gosh, should I do that? Or, gosh, do I not? Do I want to see what's under the floor, or do I not?
Yeah.
All these kind of things. And you can very easily get stuck as like, what is going to be the best decision? I don't know. I'm scared to make a decision.
And you know what? It causes a great deal of anxiety. Ambiguity causes anxiety. You'll feel better just making the decision. And I think you can think that if you decide to invest money in something, and what if you buy a car and then it's a bad car? Well, you can always return the car. Mm-hmm. There's lemon laws out there. If you make a decision to pull up the carpet and replace the carpet, and you realize that you don't have the money to pay for the carpet, well, I mean, then you learn from that. Like, it's going to be okay.
It's all going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. But even having made the decision, you just have another decision on whether or not to borrow some money or, work extra or do something to get more money. But it's still a decision that you made.
Yep.
Do I do this? Do I do that? So we got 3 tips for you today. And so the first tip, making decisions, this is going to be really encouraging to you, I hope, is that clarity beats certainty, that this perfectionism, we're going to get to the place where we're 100% sure that we made the right decision is not reality. In fact, life is best lived when you are taking risks, when you're not playing it safe. And it's crucial to remember this because it's a clarifying process where you get to the place where you have enough clarity that you can say, let's go for it. I'm not doing it out of emotion. I'm actually doing it with a balance of emotion and excitement, but real clarity in the process. You must never have the perfect information, but you can have clarity of purpose. The best decisions come from knowing what problems you're solving, what success looks like, what values guide you. You have filters in your life that you're looking at. And one of the best ways that I can think of at times for me is if I'm going to make a big decision, if I say to myself, how does this move me towards my goals? How does this move us towards our vision? So if as a business you have a revenue goal, or you have a goal for team unity, or you have a goal towards building leaders within your organization, hiring people, how does this decision move me towards my goal? If it doesn't, then it's really possible it's a tangent. It's taking you away. It's distracting you. And I don't find that often when I'm making decisions, I do find that there's resistance from other people if I'm making good decisions, believe it or not, because even those good decisions, so you decide to do something that's expanding and growing, and you're challenging yourself, you're taking some more risks, you're doing something fun, but you're doing something good, but you get some resistance. And if you listen to that, it's not necessarily the best way to move forward. I mean, you can get sucked into that pretty easily. I know I can pretty easily.
I think everybody can, because you're so right. Clarity beats certainty. Everybody has to make decisions every day of their lives. Some big, and some are small. But what we'd love to have is we would love to have prescience. I want to be able to know the future. What's going to happen when I make this decision? And it's like, I learned this a long time ago because just leading different parishes and different, working at the university, working at different schools, I had to make a lot of decisions. And I actually, which helped me a lot, kind of focused, and this is another way of saying it, I focused on, is this good enough? Perfectionism isn't something you want to get into, because I'm never going to find the ideal risk-free choice. No one is. But this is good enough. I have certainty here. I have this clarity. Not certainty. I have this clarity that, this is right. I don't know everything that's going to happen with the dominoes afterwards, but this gets me started.
So I was talking to a friend who was the CEO of a company today, asking about this topic, and he's had to make some hard decisions, hiring, firing, letting people off, new business expansion, everything. And he was saying he had to get to the point where he realized that the decision could go wrong, and that it's, in a sense, that it always could go wrong. Mm-hmm. It always could be bad. And I hate that. I don't like that. I want it to be safe. Mm-hmm. I want it to go well. But then he said, but you can always make changes after you've made the decision. Mm-hmm. You can adjust things, you can change your course, but at least you've started moving ahead.
Yes.
In the process. That's a risk.
Yeah, and there's usually 2 options or 3 options, and I always, when I'm looking at my options, I like to think, okay, which one most matches up with my values and who I want to be in the future.
Very good.
So that's
you get clarity. Clarity beats certainty. I went and spoke to a company on Friday, and I wanted to be certain that I was going to be ready and just going to have all things lined out, everything there. And I would give myself on a scale 1 to 10 for that workshop. I don't feel great about it right now. I don't feel like, even today I talked to the person that runs the business, And they shared with me that they were encouraged by it and everything, but I don't feel, because I took a risk, and the risk was through the help of the team at Decide Your Legacy to not over prepare. I knew that I would have put I was in kind of this perfectionistic mode that I want to be really over prepared for this presentation, because I haven't been doing a lot of speaking outside of podcasts. I just haven't been doing that a whole bunch. And so I was probably going to put in, 10 hours of time on this thing, when I ended up putting in probably 3 or 4 hours of prep time, maybe not even that much, but a lot less than I normally would have, and let go. And that was a big risk for me, because I don't want to just let go. And even thinking about it now, go by an outline. Don't feel like you got to have it all perfect. And that's, how does that tie to decisions? I mean, like, it's that you're clear enough this is the right thing to do. I don't have to have it perfect and have certainty that it's going to be a perfect outcome.
Right. Actually, and that's what I was thinking about that whole time when you're doing your prep work, is I wanted to say, and I did say it a couple times, you've got this in your back pocket. And I was thinking in my head, really, this is going to be good enough. I know you want perfection. You want to touch everybody perfectly, but don't worry. It's going to be good enough.
So the second tip is that decisions are systems. They're not actual events. They're a system. They're a process, and it's not a one-time event. Decisions lead to other decisions, and they're caused by other conversations and other actions that you take. I mean, they're impacted by other actions you've taken before you made the decision. A single decision isn't isolated. It's isolated. We live lives of patterns. And if we recognize those patterns, we can recognize how to make better decisions. And the patterns could be that we start communicating more upfront with people as we make the decision, or we start to get feedback at a better, higher level from people as we make decisions. So recently I've been trying to at least tell people more in advance and preface it with I'm just thinking out loud. I do find out that I get that feedback from people. They think I've made a decision and I'm just thinking about it. But I'm expressing it in a way where it seems like I'm certain about this decision, but I don't think I'm expressing it in a way where it seems like I'm certain. So just communicating that up front can help people to understand that Adam is needing help with this right now, when they don't think I need help with it at that time, even if I'm open to help for it at that time.
Talk it out so you can evaluate it better from two different people.
And that's super helpful to me, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a part of the process. We're engaging a process, and where we are in that process, I mean, don't some decisions take longer to make than others? Like, that's why we don't meet somebody and a week later get married very often.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. But that's why, because we recognize in a society that it's probably not a really great decision to make that quickly.
No.
Right.
But then you hear these stories like, well, my grandma and grandpa. No, I'm serious. Like, I even hear you've heard that kind of stuff, and they've been married 58 years. In fact, and they, whatever. But no, there are still certain situations where you pretty much have to go by there's guardrails in place that say that, like, you're going to need to make this decision over a period of time in a process. So it's sort of, have you ever seen somebody that's made a really big decision right after a loss of a loved one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how does that turn out?
Not very good.
Not usually very good.
Yeah.
Right.
Same kind of thing for religious experiences. People would come all the time to me after having this great religious experience, and like, I'm never going to drink water for the rest of my life, and
water
or whatever, some crazy idea that makes sense to them in their enthusiasm of the moment. And it's like, actually, there's a kind of a rule. You got to wait 5 months after a great religious experience before you make a vow or a decision, because you have to. It's not just a one-time thing. You have to build up the systems.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah. So it's probably right after your mom dies. It's probably not a great time to buy a $50,000 timeshare.
Probably not.
Probably not. No. Even though you tell yourself or whatever, I don't know what a timeshare costs, but
I don't either.
I don't know. It's probably not great to buy a $500,000 house in Destin, Florida. Right, because you're making that decision in a place where you're not you have to recognize the process you are in.
Yeah, you don't have a system to really help you. You're just making it event, and it's like, oh, what's the system to reduce my biases, my emotions at that moment, all those things, kind of, and running it by other people, seeking those diverse perspectives, absolutely necessary. Necessary.
Yeah.
To a point, you can't ask a whole bunch of people because if, like, for me, I have to silence the noise because if I could keep not making a decision, but I keep going and asking other people for their advice. And sometimes
that's big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to limit the amount of people, and you have to have a certain people that you value their input. And I do. I have like 3 people that I'm good, and I'm like, and then I take it. Not going
all, or just knowing who the people are that you can process certain decisions with as well. There's certain people that are great at that.
Yep.
So you create processes that reduce your emotion and your bias. And I like our coffee illustration that you can't make a great cup of coffee, get a great decision. That's the coffee without a good foundation, beans, and a good filter, which is our values and our vision and our purpose in life and our purpose. So you make business decisions based on that. So you look at that model, and in part of the beans are relationships and your emotional health. And so and seek diverse perspectives. I find that is great. It's why I am a proponent of having friendships of all ages, literally, because you could go out and ask your 6-year-old daughter for advice on making decisions, and they could give you good advice. That's hard to believe, but they're going to tell you something you may not have heard before. That would be very interesting. I mean, it depends on what is the topic, but
out of the mouths of babes.
Yes, it might be very insightful and very tactless.
Absolutely. That's true. And you review outcomes to improve your decision. So, like, if you look, and I had some friends challenge me to do this, to say, as a leader, make a list of the ways that you've been a good leader and had successes, and make a list of ways, because we've had a number of employees that decide your legacy, and we were hiring somebody new, and they told me, dude, and make a list of ways you believe you've dropped the ball, and let's look at those lists, and then make a list of the things you can do differently this next time around, and make sure you read it, and make sure you bring it to us, and make sure you don't forget it, because I'm notorious for forgetting things. But that was a way to step back as I made decisions to help me make decisions, because those are big decisions that you're making right there. Consistency in how you decide matters more than brilliance in any single decision. What does that mean?
You consistently follow through on the values that you hold with yourself.
Yeah.
That's consistency. Yeah. You consistently make decisions.
Oh boy, but some decisions that are spontaneous are so fun.
Yes.
They are, Let's just do it.
There's room for that. There's room for that.
Where's the room for it? Let's buy a ticket.
When you're friends with me, that's what there's room for.
There's, I have made some great fun decisions that are spontaneous,
yes.
That I don't regret, but I would have only made them if I just was in a mood that was like, let's do it. I mean,
there's a balance. It's a balance.
Well, I'd say there's also an age difference. But I agree. It's the same thing. I've done it before, just doing spontaneous. But I think Kelsey's right. It's that whole principles, ideals, goals, and values that help guide us. I still remember one time, this is many moons ago, I hate to say it, but did that spontaneous thing of saying, okay, I'm going to London. I'll see you later. And I was like, 10 of us landed in London, and we had a month to get somewhere, but we had no idea where we were going to stay, how we were going to get there.
That's a big one.
That's cool.
And it was a blast.
How did you get your ticket? Did you go standby?
No, actually back then it was $100 to fly from New York to London.
Oh man.
And so I did it. I mean, we flew all the time back then, but it was, for me, an over planner. And I was like, I don't like
this. What a great exercise of letting go.
Yeah.
As well. Mm-hmm. But you couldn't do that if you had 6 kids at home and a wife that,
No.
So you just have
could.
to.
You just might not be married much longer.
But that wouldn't align with your filter.
Right.
Because your values would have been compromised.
Right.
Yeah.
If you made that decision. But it wasn't in this case. So you made a decision based on your system, your process. So you want to have a process.
Yep.
You want to have a process, and clarity beats certainty. So if you found this helpful, check out Shatterproof Yourself Light. Now, this is a clarifying process, a course that you can take. It's 25 minutes long. We talk about 7 small steps to a giant leap in your self-confidence, in your leadership. You just fill in the blank. It's a giant leap in your life. And things that help me, that help our clients, that you can identify and find clarity by going through and filling out the worksheet that goes with the course. And it's going to challenge you to take action. I mean, decisions lead to actions. A decision is a commitment. A decision is eliminating other options.
Yes.
A decision is a big deal. Take it seriously. Take yourself seriously. If you make a decision, well, then at some point, even when you're second guessing yourself, even when you feel like you made the wrong decision, well, you got to go back and say, well, how was I when I made that decision? You know, I got married. I did decide at some point that it was worth it. So, you know, you just don't have to make that decision again. I mean, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm just speaking in general. I mean, you can go back to when you made it. It's a powerful thing. So check out the course. You can hit the link below and go through the course, Shatterproof Yourself. So the third tip, when it comes to making decisions, this strategic planning decision-making process for leaders is emotion drives logic. Even the most rational leaders are influenced by emotion at times. Even the best leaders are influenced by emotions at times. That's just how our brain works. I mean, we are emotional beings, and we often don't want to even, I find that I don't want to deal with that. It overwhelms me to feel some of the emotions that I can feel. So I want to hide from it, not listen to it, not journal about it, but numb myself from it. Awareness of that state and the state in your team, and picking up on that, that's emotional intelligence. We're aware of our emotional state and the state of others as well, is critical, and it's power. Your fear is going to narrow your thinking. It's not going to give you real healthy logic when you're emotional. It's going to give you frantic spontaneity that I wouldn't suggest is healthy spontaneity. There's a real healthy spontaneity, like going to London in that situation. I'm assuming it was probably a really healthy thing. It was probably challenging your rigidity in a point.
Yeah, excellent. Yes.
Go out there and you do something, find a place to live. So emotion can be your friend. Let's just not let it be our master. And learning to regulate your emotional state and see it as part of the filter, as one aspect, because I've seen wisdom as being defined as logic and emotion where they converge. And you have some level of a balance. But emotional states can be misleading because it can be showing you what you should do rather than what you should not do. Sometimes my anxiety is telling me exactly what I need to be doing. The thing I'm most uncomfortable with is exactly where I'm going to grow the most. Mm-hmm. It's the art. It's the challenge. It's leaning in and saying, if I push in through this thing, I know the fear is coming, but the best stuff in my life is going to be on the other side.
Yeah.
That's the reality of so much in growing. And professionals versus amateurs handle this stuff in their decision-making process. You know, professionals show up even if they don't feel like it. That's why we say the show must go on. You know, a comedian who has a show is not the person who can say, I don't feel good or feel like it.
Right.
Or say, I wish I didn't have this right now. No, they say, I have paying clients. I'm going to do my job 100%. That's what professionals do. And there's a place where somebody goes from being an amateur, and I love this. It's been on my mind, the book Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. Everything Stephen Pressfield I find that I read, and I have for probably 15 plus years. I love it. It started with The War of Art, but all of his books tend to really inspire me because he addresses the emotional aspect of being a professional in such a healthy way, and the resistance that we feel and face that he would say is he calls it the resistance. He calls it like evil, like an evil force that wants to tear you down and destroy your life. It doesn't care about you. Doesn't care about anything doesn't care about your success. But if I look at my decisions and the bad ones I've made, I definitely haven't been a pro. I've been an amateur getting stuck.
Everybody has their days, I would say, for sure. Everybody has their days. But I think on that third one, emotion drives logic, one of the most important things, and I think it's one of the things that people don't do enough of, is self-reflection. What is my emotional state right now? I'm going to come in and bite the husband's head off because he burnt my toast again for the second day in a row. And you got to stop and say, is that really worth my marriage or whatever it happens to be? Is like stopping and mastering your emotions as you're making those decisions. It's so vital because, if we look on our culture and our TV today and all the shows, it's all about emotive decision making. I'm hurt, so I'm gonna lash out. Wow, that's not going to lead you to any kind of good outcome. So whether you're a CEO or a husband or a housewife, you have to make those decisions. You have to recognize, where am I right now? Oh, I'm not in a good state. I need to calm down. I can make a better decision and do better things.
So mastering and stepping back from your emotions is a big part and of making great decisions. Stepping back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Big deal.
I couldn't do what I did for 30 years without that, because from right in the beginning, you're tossed into highly emotional places, whether it's counseling, someone's dying or somebody's dead, a friend of yours. You have to,
I bet,
keep everything in check and say, okay, I'm going to let it out later.
Because that is a really good point. Because as a priest, you can be in the most difficult situations people are facing, where it's highly emotional and you're able to stay distant from it. Why just can't we do that in our own heads and get distant? And so the thing that is very helpful for me personally is, when I'm in a highly emotional state, to focus on what is going on that I'm focusing on. Like, where is the fear and what is this? And is it based on reality? And because if I say, and I can get negative and I can say it's going to go bad, it's going to go wrong, they don't want to work with us, they don't like me. And if I can realize that emotional state is driven by that thought process that I have, and shift it into, like, it could go well, what's the most likely outcome? Yep. Look at the value we're providing. Look at all the good opportunity. This is amazing. You know, and I mean, realize that a professional, from an emotional point of view, doesn't take success or failure personally. A success is a success. A failure is a failure. It's not personal. It's a part of the process. They have the ability to step back from their life. And as Steven Pressfield would say, when you're a screenwriter and a screenplayer, a screenwriter, and he's an author, and he wrote the Legend of Bagger Vance, they will actually publish their book, and it's presented from a business that is not them. It's not Steven Pressfield. It's their LLC. And they're able to, it's a state of distance from that they can sell the hell out of it. He would describe it. He says in his book, you can pimp the hell out of yourself because you're distant from it. So the rejection is not you. It's actually this product you're selling, which you can tie to you, but there's some emotional distance from it. Kind of a little tricky thing there. I haven't totally grasped that myself, but I know when I hear him talk about it, I get encouraged. That's all. I mean, because encouraging thing about Steven Pressfield, he didn't have success as an author. I think he was in his late 50s. So he's in his 80s right now. And then he ended up writing some books, and he ended up having some really great successes. But his career, he would discipline himself to write every day. And he still writes every day. And he does it come rain or hell or high water, he will say. And he gets up, and again, he's in his 80s. He gets up early every day and works out, except Sundays. He loves golf, does all but has these disciplines in his life, which are crucial to step back and actually deal with the emotional aspect of the decision-making process. So let's go ahead and review. Clarity beats certainty. Decisions are systems, not events. Emotions drive logic. If you found this helpful, give it a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Share it with a friend. And you're mostly going to make my day if you take one aspect of this podcast, you got good content, and you take an action based on it. Even if it's just something that was referenced today, I'm going to go look into that more. Do something. 80% of positive change is taking an action to make applications. 20% of it is insight. To decide means that you're eliminating other options. Your legacy is the impact your life will have on others. There's no positive change until you decide to change. So decide today, because your legacy depends on you making decisions, and follow this process, this type of thing. These tips are going to help you make better decisions. Today, I want to close the way I always do. Live the life today you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I appreciate you greatly, and I'll see you next time.